Hello, and welcome to today's episode. If you've already heard the introduction before, then just skip ahead about 5 minutes. Otherwise, the Bible is referred to as the living Word of God. It isn't a book that is meant simply to be read. It is a perspective-altering substance that is meant to be ingested and absorbed into you. And when it becomes a part of you, it changes you. And that is exactly what it is meant to do. A psalm is a spiritual song based on real-life experiences that reveal a profound foundational insight that is then expressed in the form of music, which is usually played on a harp. This is my own paraphrase of the Psalms. Now, there is an important difference between a paraphrase and a translation, and it is important to understand what that difference is. A translation takes a text word by word, and it finds the most accurate word in another language to convey the meaning of that original word. But sometimes getting the details right can come at the expense of the big picture. For example, the literal translation for a butt dial and the literal translation for a booty call could end up being exactly the same if they were both translated very literally into another language. But we all know that those are two very different ideas. A paraphrase, on the other hand, is attempting to capture the spirit of the idea that is being expressed. But both approaches come with their own disadvantages. Sometimes the most literal translation for each word, while technically still accurate, also loses something in its translation. For example, if you were to translate the phrase, "cat got your tongue," into another language, it would probably make no sense to them. Why would a cat grab your tongue? What are you even talking about? In order to convey the original idea, you would have to find out which saying is used in that other language to express the same concept. But it might not involve a cat, or even any animal at all. So the literal translation would not be a very accurate one. But in a case like the one that I just described, the idea is more important than sticking to a very literal translation that ends up losing all of its intended meaning. However, because paraphrases are an individual's interpretation of the underlying idea instead of a rigorous academic translation of the word, they are not as objectively accurate as a translation is. A paraphrase is a lot more subjective, and that makes it much more susceptible to interpretations that are way off the mark of the original text's intent. The focus of a translation is on detailed accuracy, and sometimes the broader picture is not conveyed very clearly as a result. The focus of a paraphrase is on painting that big picture, but it often loses the accuracy of the finer details. Both are useful as long as you understand which is which, and what the disadvantages to each approach are. And that is why I recommend using both an accurate translation, like the New American Standard, and a responsible paraphrase. For my part, I've done my best to create a hybrid paraphrase that also contains the truest translation that I could create for the Hebrew words that are found in the original text. But everything loses something in translation. Every word is an amalgamation of several other words. That is basically what a dictionary is. It tells you which words overlap with the word that you are interested in, and that helps you to fully understand its context. When it comes to a language that you are familiar with, all of the implied connections that are associated with a word are inherently carried along for context. They are tethered to its meaning, and we all understand that those connections are part of the picture. But this web of context does not come along for the ride when you are dealing with an unfamiliar language. So in a translation, you often have to choose between picking a word that overlaps more than any other single word would, while sacrificing the rest of the picture, or you end up with an extremely wordy translation that doesn't flow as well as it does in the original language. And Hebrew especially is such an abundantly rich language that to remain true to the beautiful web of context that is contained in the original biblical portrait, you end up with a very wordy English version. That trade-off is clearly not for everyone. But the truth is that there are already so many paraphrases out there for the people who want the maximally filtered, ultra-boiled down, heavily concentrated version of the Bible. And I'm not denying that concise simplicity has its utility. It certainly does. So if that is all that you are looking for right now, then there are already several versions out there to suit your preferred purpose. For the other people who want a deeper dive and a wider perspective to draw from as they try to understand the scriptures fully, some amount of crisp, flowing directness will have to be sacrificed in exchange for the opportunity to view that broader and more complicated web of context. But hopefully, these attempts to contribute an additional tool to the versions of the Holy Scriptures that already exist will only add another dimension to the way that you experience faith. Psalm 109, Part A, the first 20 verses. For the music director, a psalm of David. Divine Creator, the one who bursts from the lines of my worshipful psalms of praise, which explode with extravagant boasts of you. Do not be silent, deaf, and unmoving. For a pack of treacherous, deliberately misleading, and corrupt mouths, belonging to people that are criminally hostile to good, are turned loose like exposed weapons with dangerous edges that have been drawn with the purpose of attacking me. They speak concretely about me with tongues that flat out lie when they are not speaking their empty and unstable lies directly to me, that is. They encircle me with words of hatred that solidify before my eyes into the reality of active hate. And with true malice, they wage war against me frivolously, with no cause or grounds for all of their violent hostility. I gave them dedicated and selfless love. And in return, they paid me back by becoming accusers, Satans, that hostilely block my path, while I respond with an all-consuming introspection, so that I can judge myself honestly and realign with what is objectively right, despite receiving nothing from them. That is the way that they have repaid me, by giving me the burden of their dark cruelty in exchange for life-giving goodness. They repaid me by detesting me with their murderous hostility in exchange for receiving my devoted and encompassing love. I ask for the justice that you would give him the very thing that he wanted for me. Put him under the thumb of a man who is entirely self-serving and immoral. And may a malicious accuser, Satan, take a stand close to his strongest side, prosecuting and harassing him, the way that Satan does in the hopes of seeing our soul destroyed as a result. When he is judged, let him emerge condemned as being both guilty and wicked. And may even his prayer of introspection be wrong, offensive, and a sinful mistake that misses the mark, and may it be counted against him as such. May his time be scarce, and may someone else replace him by seizing his authority and taking over his status as well as his purpose and his stockpile of resources. May the building blocks of his family, his children, have no father, only bereft loneliness, and may his wife become a precarious widow. May his children, the building blocks of his family, be fugitives that wander around lost with no stability in their existence until they are reduced to begging from others with desperate and humbling pleas as they continue to search for some kind of sustenance in the ruins that are left of their home. May extortionist creditors trap him and take everything that belongs to him, everything that he has. Yes, may outside strangers plunder and seize everything that he earned and worked so strenuously to produce. May no one exist who extends mercy, love, or generosity to him, nor anyone to stoop down and show compassion to his orphaned children. No, may the future building blocks of his family exist only so that they can be chopped down and removed during a different generation's time, when their family name will be excluded, their legacy ended and erased as now being extinct and irrelevant. May the crimes that his ancestors were guilty of, the ancestors that he built his own life on, may their low betrayals and warped pleasures be deliberately brought to mind in vivid detail in the presence of the Most High, and never allow his mother's shameful shortcomings to be removed or covered and forgotten either, the woman who is so much a part of him. May they all be set directly in front of the face of the Most High, non-stop at all times, so that in an act of righteous accountability, he will sever their memory from the world and cut their legacy out of the earth, negating their entire existence, because that man did not ever deliberately choose to act with mercy, love, or generosity. Instead, he relentlessly hunted people who were suffering, destitute, with nothing of worth, and completely reliant on others, tormenting and persecuting them, along with those whose animating spirits were shattered and whose hearts were crushed. Yet he would be satisfied with nothing less than killing them. So, because he loved flippant disrespect and casual curses, they were also drawn to him, and they kept coming back to him, descending on him and entering him. But he had no desire for wishing well or blessings, so they kept their distance and never came anywhere close to him. He routinely wore his flippant curses wrapped around him like clothing that was displayed to cover the shame of his own nakedness. Over time, they soaked into his body, into his guts, entering like the chaos of water. And they became a part of who he was inside, too, penetrating him to his core bones like luxurious oil. So may they continue to be the suffocating clothes that envelop him, the ones that he has to wear to hide the truth, betraying himself, bound in his own monstrosity like a girdle that is strapped around him non-stop at all times and cinched tight. May this, getting exactly what they want, be the pay that my accusers, Satan's, earn from the Most High for concretely speaking harm and malice into reality against my entire existence, my entire being, down to my innermost foundations, my core spark of life. I pray that whatever voice God might choose to give me in this world, He would also give me the words that I should use it for. These words have meaning for me, and if they had some meaning for you as well, then I am truly grateful that we have both been given a gift from above, and from each other. Have a good day out there, my friends.